Will be broadcasting live a message from the Archbishop, the Most Reverend Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, from his residence. So make it a plot to join us as we share in the message that he will be giving unto us, the faithfuls, and even those who don't consider themselves the faithfuls. We can all partake of the message from the Archbishop. Now today, as we start our segment and of course our production, there is news all across the board from the United States, back here in Uganda. Back in the United States, many are making fun of Gayle King and her reaction as she was going to space, and many think that, many argue that she was rethinking her choices at that minute. Apparently, she looked very scared and bothered. But later on, she did say that she was indeed concerned, but she was happy and thanked God that she made it back to earth safe and sound. Now, coming back to Uganda, one of the dailies has an interesting headline: NRM flag goes for a premium. What does this mean? Apparently in NRM right now, the national chairman position, if one needs to context for it, then they will have to pay 20 million away from the 10 million that they have been paying, and the members of parliament will be paying 3 million up from 2 million. And the national vice chairperson will be paying 10 million away from the 5 million that they've been paying previously. Lord Mayor, it is unchanged. It remains at 1.5 million shillings. And the national vice chair regional, that is from 2.5 to 5 million, whereas LC5 chairperson will be paying 1 million. This is unchanged. Now later on we will be delving into a conversation regarding the same, but for now I have the two amazing people that I do this with every single morning. Chaba Robert Nyonyitono, he's preparing himself as if he's going to give a speech, Kubuko, and of course we have Julie F. Nantaba. Musisi, I'll start with you, Julie. Good morning.
Good morning, Olive. The shots you're firing at Robert this morning. After all, he was named honorable at a particular meeting we had.
The minute I mentioned his name, he started. You know how people prepare themselves to give a speech?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. But really this morning there is a story that made rounds over the night, and it's regarding university students and the disease of drug abuse. Now, watching and reading about that story reminded me of my time at campus. And it reminds me in particular of what used to make rounds were weed cookies and weed cake. My goodness, my goodness. My goodness. Little did I think that it was still prevalent and common. But some of the comments that came through at that time, I remember, as I was getting into this story, people were like, this thing started in the 2000s and it's normal. Leave the students alone. You know, like it's okay.
So we are normalizing something that is affecting our young people.
Yes, university students are consuming a lot of drugs, and not directly, by the way. Not directly. There is a booming market, a big market.
By directly, you mean they're not smoking them?
They are not smoking directly, that you'll find a student with a puff. Or you'll find a student with powder, you know, but it's through cake and cookies. They are on the market. You can't even tell whether it has weed or not. The only way you could tell, if you're alert, is with the pricing. The pricing is usually different. One cookie could be, it's not as ordinary as maybe 1,000. It could cost as much as probably 3K or 5, depending, and you'd wonder why. So that's one of the keynotes to take. When someone sells to you a cookie, that's when you think twice and you
Are these cookies being sold just the same way? For instance, if I go to an event, do they have like a station where they are selling them, or they have plugs that it has the person selling is connecting with a select few that do the distribution to the students?
Most times it's plugs. It's a plug related situation, and most times, for example, at parties, now campus has a lot of parties like birthday parties. These birthday parties are involve something called drink ups. If you're wondering what a drink up is where there's a lot of drinks in regards to booze, and that means they are presented in different ways, either punched mixed with juice, or punched cocktails with probably...
So you don't know what you're taking?
With the drink cups, you know what you're taking. But with the cookies and the cake, you do not know what you're taking because they're available. At parties, they are not sold. They are available. They are part of the event. So you just consume it anyhow.
This is really sad, and I think this is where, as parents, we need to go ahead and talk to our teenagers, our young adults about the effects of drug use onto their bodies. It is known that before the age of 25, the frontal lobe, which is in charge of making decisions, discernment, but also the medulla oblongata, are both not fully developed. So we need to talk to our young people about the immense risk that they're exposing themselves to. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning.
I don't
know which kind of mother-in-law you will be, but you look to be a hard one. However, we wait, time will tell. Not so when it comes to choices.
So fast.
And you said I was going for Oko, so it just came to my mind, what kind of mother-in-law would Najuma Olive
An
be?
interesting one.
And which kind of daughter would she accept? But that is a talk of
And which kind of man will I accept for my daughters? But let's continue.
Now, Julie talked about something very interesting. She said most of the students who take these cookies or these various drugs in various forms, many take them unaware. But I must let you know, Julie, that there are also very many actually that take them independent, well aware.
Yes,
well aware. True. Apart from the parties, I think, where the house parties of late house parties have become house parties for all ages, by the way. Yeah, away from campus. I thought it was a campus thing. But now, even here, the corporate, the people that are going for house parties.
But these are adults.
These are adults, and what happens there, but also the drugs are making it there now. Why, for me, I want to call upon government to be very, very serious. When we were at university, the drugs that were in circulation, that various types, most were those that are manufactured here, you know. But today, as we speak, we are having more drugs imported and very dangerous. In our days, ice, a drug commonly known as ice, was not present in Uganda. Today, one of the most dangerous, yet most expensive and most sought by the youth is ice. Just like salt, small crystals.
It is laboratory made.
Laboratory made.
Ice also the one known as meth?
Well, I think it's that one. I know that it's like salt, they're like salt particles. And when you find these young boys getting the bottle, that bulb, then lighting and taking it, you know, so we need to be serious, because the effect of those laboratory, you say laboratory made, is very, very high compared to this one we've been growing. Then you boil and use that water for maybe making the drinks. And so we must not say since 2000 these things have been there. More dangerous ones are accessing the market.
Wow.
And their side effects are very bad.
Side effects are very bad. So, Robert, from what I take from what you've shared with us and what Julie has shared, is that this is a concerted effort. It has to be a concerted effort between the government and also the families. The parents have to speak, because there is so much the government can do. What are you doing in your small unit as a family, as a father, as a mother, as a guardian, to help these young people make good decisions?
That's true.
And of course, who are the young people talking to? Who are their friends? What is their circle
Who's
like?
influencing
Yes,
them?
so let's encourage our children to make better decisions. It goes back to the parents, unfortunately, and the community, the church. All of us must join our voices and speak about drugs in universities, in schools, among young people. But let's have a look at our local news.
Well, we'll begin with 72 members of parliament from the opposition who have appended their signature to a document confirming they have not taken the 100 million from government, and this document has been made public. The members of parliament, through the leader of opposition, Joe Senyonyi, however, appeal to the public not to pressure their members of parliament to take the money. Members of parliament from the opposition responded to the letter of the president on giving MPs 100 million Uganda shillings each. The president questioned them why they are not taking the 100 million money, yet they willingly accept financial support from foreign agencies. Senyonyi alleges that the cash handout is aimed at influencing the UPDF amendment bill, as evidenced by the government business presented by the Prime Minister for this week. On the other hand, some MPs from the ruling party said the money was to support them monitor government programs, which Senyonyi disagrees with. 72 members of the opposition pended signature to the document and confirmed that they are not taking any penny regarding this issue. Now, moving on, in a media brief yesterday, the NRM Secretary General Richard Todong and NRM top party officials unveiled the roadmap for the primaries. Some of the key days to be remembered include the following. May 6th, this very year, elections for LC1 flag bearers and village party structure officials. July 16th, this very year, NRM primaries for parliamentary candidates. July 24th, NRM primaries for LC5 chairpersons, mayors and councillors. August 18th, this very year, elections for LC3 chairpersons and councillors. October 2nd to 3rd, this very year, nomination of presidential candidates. And January 12th to February 9th, 2026, national polling period for president, members of parliament and local government councillors. Meanwhile, the nomination fees for the party primaries goes as follows. President, 20 million Uganda shillings. Members of parliament, 3 million Uganda shillings. Lord Mayor, 1.5 million shillings. City councillors, 500,000. Lord Mayor, 1 million shillings. Chairperson for LC5, 1 million shillings. Then councillors for LC5, 200,000. City division mayors, 1 million shillings, and municipal mayors will be paying 750,000 shillings. Moving on, the budget for the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development for the financial year 2025-2026 is projected to rise by 501.9 billion to 1.7114 from 1.2112 trillion in the financial year 2024-2025. This excludes supplementary budget of both the current and the projected financial year. The chairperson of the Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, Herbert Ariko, was presenting the budget estimates and the ministerial policy statement for the financial year 2025-2026. Moving on, security has been significantly heightened in Mwalimu Naguru Drive, Nakawa Division, following the deployment of police and military personnel to safeguard Ministry of Lands officials at a high land conflict meeting. The meeting was convened to address a long-standing dispute over plot 54A and plot 3 in Kiwalimu Zone. The State Minister for Lands, Dr. Sam Mayanja, led the delegation, which included Senior Presidential Assistant for Special Duties Fiona Birungi and the RCC of Nakawa and Kampala Central. The area LC1 chairperson Hamed Matovu and concerned residents were also present. The tense gathering was closely monitored by security personnel. Chairman Matovu expressed the community's frustration over unresolved land issues. In response, Minister Mayanja read a report compiled by State House Anti-Corruption Unit led by Brigadier Henry Soke. The report read that the two plots in question had been illegally subdivided. He faulted Kampala District Land Board for allocating land that belonged to the Uganda Land Commission. Minister Mayanja ordered the cancellation of the land title held by Nashrubuddin Muslim Community Limited. He directed that both plot 54A and plot 3 are repossessed by government. However, in comparison, Isabat University and Masharib in Islamic community will retain a proportion of the land. Well, that brings us to the end of our local stories.
Now back from the local stories, we look at our international news, where China's economy grew by 5.4% in the first quarter year-on-year as a tit-for-tat trade war with US President Donald Trump escalates. Exports from China to the US now face 145% levies compared to 125% for US goods entering China. The world's second biggest economy is bracing for the full impact of the levies as it continues to struggle with slow growth. Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Malaysia as part of a tour of Southeast Asia to shore up alliances with key trading partners. Last week, Trump announced a 90-day pause on higher tariffs on all countries except China. Meanwhile, other governments, which currently face a 10% baseline tariff, are negotiating with the US to avoid the higher levies. Now moving on, a Russian missile strike on Sunday on the Ukrainian city of Sumy killed at least 34 people, authorities said, as European and US leaders condemned one of the deadliest attacks in months. 2 ballistic missiles hit the center of the northeastern city close to the Russian border on Sunday morning, Ukrainian authorities said. People ran for cover amid burning cars and bodies were left strewn in the street. President Volodymyr Zelensky stressed that the attack occurred on Palm Sunday, a major Christian feast. Only completely deranged scum can do something like this, he said in his evening address. Emergency services said the missiles killed 34 people, including 2 children, and wounded 117, including 15 children. The dead were seen covered in silver sheets at the scene of the strike, where rescuers worked through the rubble of a building near a destroyed trolley bus. Zelensky said 8 of the 68 injured in hospitals were in serious condition. Now, moving on, Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, has announced the formation of a rival government 2 years since the country descended into a brutal war that has left tens of thousands dead and triggered what the United Nations calls the world's worst humanitarian crisis. The RSF, led by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, also known as Hemeti, declared on Tuesday the establishment of the Government of Peace and Unity in areas under its control. The move directly challenges the army-led administration headed by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. On this anniversary, we proudly declare of the Government of Peace and Unity, the establishment of the Government of Peace and Unity, a broad coalition that reflects the true face of Sudan, Dagalo said on Telegram. The RSF and its allies had already signed a charter in Nairobi in February, laying out their intention to form an alternative authority. Dagalo said they had now endorsed a transitional constitution, which he described as, quote-unquote, a roadmap for a new Sudan. The document proposes a 15-member presidential council representing all regions of the country. Well, that does it for our international news, but Julie has more for us in the dailies from Uganda and also Kenya and Tanzania.
Yes, thank you, Olive. And in the dailies, starting off with the new vision, government unveils tough law on buildings, and developers, contractors face hefty fines as well as jail terms. That is in the new vision. Meanwhile, Museveni hails Catholic Church for fighting poverty. But also in the new vision, Katanga forensic report does not show receipt of evidence. And matters economy, how new sugar law will affect industry. And matters choral festival launched, as well as admissions of Makerere government list out. But looking at what is in the Daily Monitor here in Uganda, NRM flag goes for a premium. And as we started the show, we did share the different amounts of money that will be paid. For example, the national chairman is now paying 20 million Uganda shillings, right from 10 million Uganda shillings. And aspirants for top National Resistance Movement party positions in the upcoming general election will have to part with double the amount of money paid at the last election. In the Daily Monitor still, NMG Group CEO Jeff is the new sheriff in town, and Nation Media Group Uganda Managing Director Susan Nsibira hands over a caricature to Mr. Geoffrey Odundo, the new group managing director and chief executive officer of the Nation Media Group. That is a picture there in the Daily Monitor. Now, still in the Daily Monitor, regional matters concerned over food safety as farmers turn to agrochemicals, but also still celebrating Kabaka's 70th birthday, Kabaka's love for the entertainment. Now, looking at matters business, Umeme shareholders trapped in dispute. Meanwhile, the lizard tries to make sense of the NRM party premium, flag going premium, and he says makes sense to seek 100 million shillings bailout. That is the lizard for you. But let's take a look at the rest of East Africa, and starting with the Citizen. Mpango urges reforms in tax procurement systems. And still in the Citizen, Zanzibar up to showcase Pemba's untapped potential. But also, Chadema now says electoral code of ethics unconstitutional. And Samia to inaugurate Magufuli Bridge next month. But also quickly looking at the Daily Nation, Ruto's string of court losses. Interesting there. And House team rejects TSC's list of 25,000 promoted teachers. Matters politics, president, no one can stop me in 2027. And the state admits bumps in the SHA rollout. That is in the Daily Nation. That wraps it for what's in the dailies today. Good morning.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. Now, the inspiration song of the day is Omega 256 this year. Enjoy. We'll be right back, and we'll be speaking matters, the new fees for those contending for different positions in NRM.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Now, Easter is a time for us to remember the sacrifice that was given unto us by the Father, who gave his Son, Jesus Christ, to die for our sins. And on Friday, we will be broadcasting live the way of the cross, and many faithfuls that have been fasting during this Lent period will also be coming to an end, closing their fasting of 40 days. But today, after Good Morning Uganda, that will be at 9 a.m., we will be broadcasting live a message from the Archbishop, the Most Reverend Kazimba Mugalu, from his residence. So make it a plot to join us as we share in the message that he will be giving unto us, the faithfuls, and even those who don't consider themselves the faithfuls. We can all partake of the message from the Archbishop. Now, today, as we start our segment and of course our production, there is news all across the board from the United States, back here in Uganda. Back in the United States, many are making fun of Gayle King and her reaction as she was going to space, and many think that, many argue that she was rethinking her choices at that minute. Apparently, she looked very scared and bothered. But later on, she did say that she was indeed concerned, but she was happy and thanked God that she made it back to earth safe and sound. Now, coming back to Uganda, one of the dailies has an interesting headline. NRM flag goes for a premium. What does this mean? Apparently in NRM right now, the national chairman position, if one needs to context for it, then they will have to pay 20 million away from the 10 million that they have been paying, and the members of parliament will be paying 3 million up from 2 million. And the national vice chairperson will be paying 10 million away from the 5 million that they've been paying previously. Lord Mayor, it is unchanged. It remains at 1.5 million shillings. And the national vice chair regional, that is from 2.5 to 5 million, whereas LC5 chairperson will be paying 1 million. This is unchanged. Now, later on, we will be delving into a conversation regarding the same. But for now, I have the two amazing people that I do this with every single morning. Chairman Robert Nyonyetono, he's preparing himself as if he's going to give a speech, Kubuko. And of course, we have Julie F. Nantaba. Musisi, I'll start with you, Julie. Good morning.
Good morning, Olive. The shots you're firing at Robert this morning. After all, he was named honorable at a particular meeting we had.
The minute I mentioned his name, he started. You know how people prepare themselves to give a speech?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. But really this morning there is a story that made rounds over the night, and it's regarding university students and the disease of drug abuse.
For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby dondolo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks, Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, thank you for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. Now, as promised, we delve into a conversation regarding the rising cost of politics in the country. And we are asking a question: should politics be left to the financially able, or all Ugandans should be left to participate? We'd like to hear your views on that on WhatsApp number 0709602592. Now, as Uganda gears for the 2026 general elections, we have also now we are starting to see changes in different political parties. The most recent one are the fees that have been increased in the case of NRM members that are aspirants for different seats. We have seen a breakdown of the fees that they will be paying, starting from those that will be competing for national chairman post, and those that will be vice chair and vice chair regional, including LC5 chairperson, among others. Now, the biggest question here is, should politics be left to the financially able, or we should let many Ugandans that are capable contest? Your answer will be very relevant and prevalent for us. I'm with Robert Chirabo, Nyonyi Ntono, and of course, Julie F. Nantaba Mosesi. Julie, coming to you. First of all, help us understand the different fees that have been changed and those that have been left the same, for us to have a clear understanding of what NRM is doing.
Thank you, Olive. And the different fees structure, those that have been changed, those that have remained, all the way up to grassroots levels. Now, let's start off with the national chairmanship, which was at 10 million formerly and now is at 20 million. And now looking at the position of first national vice chairperson male, one has to pay 10 million. Formerly, one had to pay 5 million. Second national vice chairperson female still remains the same amount of money. One has to pay 10 million from the 5 million that was. Now looking at the national vice chairperson of the regions, 5 million is the amount remained at that. And the league chairpersons ought to pay 1 million, maintained as well. Other executive members ought to pay 500,000 Uganda shillings, which has also been maintained. Now, NRM district chairpersons ought to pay 500,000 Uganda shillings. District city mainstream vice chairpersons pay 50,000 Uganda shillings. General secretaries pay 50,000 Uganda shillings. Public secretary pay 50,000 Uganda shillings. Secretary for Finance, 50,000. NRM City League, 100,000 Uganda shillings. NRM District City League Vice Chairperson, 100,000. General Secretary, 100,000. Public Secretary, 100,000. Municipality City Division Mainstream Chairperson, 200,000. Municipality Chairperson City Division Leagues, 50,000. NRM sub-county mainstream chairpersons, 50,000. Now looking at the position of the president, 20 million Uganda shillings, and members of parliament, 3 million Uganda shillings. The Lord Mayor, 1.5 million Uganda shillings. City councillors, 500,000 Uganda shillings. Lord councillors, 1 million. LC5 chairpersons, 1 million. LC5 councillors, 200,000 Uganda shillings. City division mayors, 1 million. Municipal MPs, 750,000 Uganda shillings. And division councillors or municipal councillors, these pay 100,000. Sub-county chairpersons, 20,000. Town council chairpersons, 20,000 as well. Division municipal chairpersons, 20,000. Local government chairpersons, 20,000. Sub-county councillors, town councillors, LC1 town councillors and local and sub-county councillors, 20,000, and LC1 chairpersons, 10,000.
Wow.
And that is what the structure looks like, all the way from the topmost positions up to the grassroots level.
Okay. Now, coming back to you, Robert, what are the official reasons that the National Resistance Movement Party has given that instigated the move to increase nomination fees for party aspirants ahead of the 2026 elections?
Well, I may not have clear reasons for what they have given, because it was more, as for the media, it was more of top officials have met, then a release. So there wasn't that questioning to why, how, and all that.
So have we heard from any party officials? No statements have been given?
I think some of the things, when you look at the statements they have produced, they have given, it doesn't talk about reasons why.
Okay.
It just gives out their roadmap, because the meeting was basically for their roadmap, where they first told us, or they tell the public, as when these elections are going to take place, nomination for within party primaries. Then after they talked about the party primaries dates, now they went to the cost of how much someone is going to pay. So because it was more of top NRM officials, it didn't push for these questions. Why are you moving these monies?
Julie, you had something to say?
It's interesting that according to the Daily Monitor, Ms. Namayan just stated it in a sandwich statement at least. A few reasons were cited in there. And she stated that because they have to prepare for the upcoming general elections, money is needed to run the process. Thus, the need to increase money. But also she stated that it's a way for party members to give back to the party. And because those who go through the primaries and eventually get the ticket for the NRM to participate in the general elections, the NRM party pays for their nomination fees. So it's part of running the electoral process along the way. Those are the few reasons she cited, but it wasn't stated explicitly, but it was within a sandwich of the conversation.
Because I was expecting in that document, Honorable Tango Doi, to indicate that these are the reasons. Because believe you me or not, still they have been organizing party primaries. Still, the party has been contributing this. But not looking at NRM alone, I think it's a bigger issue. Democratic Party about 3 weeks back or 4 weeks back, there was trouble there. And their president, Norbert Mao, came up to say, please, first wait. Because there were looming plans to increase, for example, party president from 2 million to 5 million. That for you to secure that card. And also their party secretary general came up, but it is also in the way. National Unity Platform, still that these are not tickets you're getting freely. So the issues given, reasons given. One, giving back to the party. Remember, you're talking about hiking of what one has been paying. For example, if the president has been at 10 million and now you're going at 20 million, that is 100% between you and our viewer. 100% increase in price of any commodity is totally unacceptable. If you're telling me this is how much I was buying if I bought this cup at 20,000 and I come back and you tell me that next time it's 40,000, there must be bigger explanation than just saying you buy Uganda.
You're giving back to the party.
Because now for me you tell me this cup is made in Uganda, so now it is the Bubu policy, buy Uganda, and you can't say buy Uganda has brought at 40,000 shillings. So I want now to go politically. This increase just shows that one, for you to be a leader, let's be very honest, in this day and age, you must have financial muscles. Why am I talking about this? Because we must know that you have financial muscles. The campaigns, the way we've tailored our politics. For example, Olive and Julie. NRM, you're going to be a flag bearer for NRM. NRM knows that when you take the ticket and win, definitely you're going to reap. And there's something to give back to the party. But you're going to be earning. But remember, apart from it paying for you, the fees, you as a candidate, we know today, these are facts you may not want to bring in the open. For you, there is an institution that carries out, Oliver, I don't know if you can recall this, that did a research on how much people spend in campaigns. It's a whole body. And for Member of Parliament, it was clear that you'll use between 500 million to 800 million in some areas. Now, we need to know. We don't want to lose elections because this is how you've shaped, how you've tailored your politics as Ugandans. That politics, for you, the candidate, you're going to spend. And we need to know that you have the ability to spend during the campaign trail. You're going to need a car that can maneuver the entire constituency. Now, that may not be a super custom, neither a Subaru or a Golf or something, but it has to be a 4-wheel drive. You need fuel to traverse the constituency. You need what we call public address system. You need, of late, I don't know why, you need to have musicians or artists perform at these various rallies. You need, let's be honest and truth be told, you're going to spend on the people that are coming. They have to drink. They have to eat. During the campaign, you're going to make these pledges. So we don't want to lose because we've given someone our ticket who doesn't have the capacity to walk the journey of campaigns. You who is standing, you're going to have polling agents on that day to safeguard your vote. Now, if you have about, Kawempe, they had about 149, 40-something polling stations. Now, for you, a candidate, having an agent on each of these polling stations, they have to eat. You have to give them some money. So you must have a financial muscle. Because if we give you and you don't have, we are not sure you have the financial muscle, and the other party has the financial muscles. Ugandans these days, these are facts on ground. We've commercialized our politics. That a person will tell you, right from school, you see children campaign and they're taking sweets. That is how we've made our politics. That is eliminating the poor, or those that don't have as much. So we must know that you're able to walk this journey with the ability till the end. And also you must be sure that even when things don't turn in your favor, you're not going to be a rumpen on the streets. So these monies, you're coming to be a president, and you can't give us 20 million to get the party flag. Let's be honest. How are you going to have the money to traverse the entire country looking for votes? How are you going to have the money? These public address systems I'm talking about, the booze, sometimes you have to buy people alcohol. Sometimes you have to meet these common problems along the way. Because they'll tell you, Mukama wafe, you're here, but someone touches the throat, meaning we are thirsty. And if you don't have these monies, the party is going to lose. So that is how we've defined our politics. And this is what a wise party has to do.
Wow. I liked Robert's perspective. Now, dear viewer, if you're just joining us, we are speaking matters 2026 general elections and, of course, the nomination fees that have been hiked in the NRM party for their aspirants that seek to be nominated for different party tickets of different levels. There is the fees for the national chairman, vice chairman regional, up to the grassroots levels. And there is debate. Some people are of the view that now we have clearly commercialized our politics. If it's been a secret, now it's out in the open that if you're not financially able, you may not be able to vie for any political office in this land. But then there is the argument, like Robert put it, if you do not have money, why are you aspiring to be a leader? Aren't you the person that is going to get into a certain position and then start contributing to the corruption that we are already fighting because you're not in position to enrich yourself? I think both sides of the coin hold some water. What's your view? Join the conversation. The number is 0709 602 592. Now, Julie, coming to you, are there any precedents or comparisons with other political parties or with previous election cycles regarding nomination fees?
Very interesting, Olive, that Robert's perspective and the picture he painted reminds me of, I was partly active with the 2021 elections, and I was on ground, you know, seeking votes from people. And I remember one of the common language used at that time, everyone would tell you that, Oinachi, what do you have? And for some political candidates, by the way, they would actively and evidently give cash. Give someone a 20,000 Uganda shilling note, and they'll assure you that they'll vote you. Sad that is the picture and the reality of Ugandan politics. But in the 2021 general elections, the NRM obviously, as always, set up a relatively high nomination fee. And it wasn't alone. Parties like other parties like FDC, they also had their own nomination.
How much money are we talking about here?
Now, FDC maintained its 5 million shillings rate at that time for party nominations, and this was for pardon me, I'm trying to get the particular position, but at least what I have in my facts is FDC charged 5 million Uganda shillings. But going back to the NRM ultimately, for example, MPs had 3 million, which was still maintained for this year. And ultimately, NRM was able to raise a whole 4 billion from party nominations alone in the year 2021. And this is as some of the facts remain on record as by the Uganda Radio Network. But also we see that this idea of having fees for party nominations definitely keeps people aside It keeps some people aside from participating. But there are those parties that did not charge. For example, ANT did not charge nomination fees for parliamentary candidates in 2021. Wonder if it still has the same plan for this year, but we definitely look forward to what it has. But definitely this shows you that money runs party politics, even before the general election.
Okay, now, Julie, I'm interested in the part where you do mention that these nomination fees are keeping away certain people from the politics. Please expound on that. I
mean, that means that, number one, if you're not financially stable, you'll be unable to participate in party politics. And for those who are participating in party politics, in our sense, it becomes transactional more than it's a transactional game than a service game. Because if someone pays their 20 million to serve in that particular position, they'll want to get it back in one way or the other. So these,
but they will be paid in the event that they
will. But
win.
surprisingly, these are conversations, like I've mentioned, that I've had the opportunity to participate in grassroots electoral processes, political in events. You find that conversations are, the reality is, someone invests to get back. All right. So that means that aside from being a financial issue, it's a direct blow to inclusive democracy. And that means that leadership is only for the wealthy. And that also means that at grassroots levels, if someone is unable to have a certain financial stability, they are discouraged from participating in active politics. But let's also remember that the biggest population of Uganda is by the youth. Most youths cannot raise this kind of money. Most youths work, but either they're unemployed or underemployed. Yet they actively want to serve their nation. They want to speak a language that the most of the population speaks, but unfortunately, they are unable to raise even 5 million.
Okay, thank you so much, Julie, for that. Now, Robert, there has been debate in different election cycles by the youth, and I like that Julie has brought that in. The youth claim that they need to be a part of the national political voice, okay? That they need to represent the nation. And we saw that excitement when the president appointed Minister Nyamtoro as a state minister for energy. And the youth were happy, saying that we are now being brought closer to where the decisions are made. There was another youth that was chosen. I forget her name, there is another honorable lady still. But anyway, what I'm trying to drive at is that if we have 70% of Uganda youth, okay, according to the census of last year, it means that we need to have them more into electoral positions so that they can add to the voices of others regarding the issues of the youth, okay? But if we have these fees as high as they are, and we systematically and we intentionally keeping them out of the electoral process?
Well, thank you so much for that question, and I really like it. Now, we did amend our constitution, and when we amended it, we removed age limit.
Yes.
Now, this did not only refuse someone beyond 75 years, it opened up that you can contest as old as you are, no matter even if you are 100 years. Our constitution has no age limit for you to contest for any electoral process. But also, it opened a gap that for any position, as long as you're 18 years, you can contest.
That much we know.
Now, I'm coming to that.
Yes.
That is why we say
the practical sense of
yes, the practical sense of that.
Now, in the just concluded election, we had youthful candidates almost at every level.
Youthful does not necessarily mean youth.
Youth. We had the likes of
Katumba. Anyways, let's use at that time he was
at the highest office.
Yes.
He was aspiring for the highest office.
And I think he was still at university.
He was still at university. And to some people, you see, being a leader, it means you're leading us. You're better than us. We want to accept so that you're able to show us direction. Now, We want the youth in politics. And that's why there are many positions that are ring-fenced right from LC1. You must have secretary for youth. Parliament.
Robert,
now, when we talk about money...
Allow me to interject before you go to the money aspect. When you say there are posts that are ring-fenced for the youth, there is argument that why should you just ring-fence a post for the youth? Why not just say this youth is able, she can take us? I mean, we have seen countries where the president is as young as 35. I remember in 2007 when we had Chogam here, the president of the Dominican Republic at the time was a 35-year-old man. Last year, Senegal chose a 45-year-old as their president. What am I trying to say? For member of parliament, do we mean that a 25-year-old cannot become a member of parliament? Why are we ring-fencing these positions? I'm asking this because there is also the debate of why do we have women member of parliament? We have a member of parliament and we have a woman member of
Affirmative
parliament.
action.
Why not just let the women contest and win favorably?
Actually, in this parliament, we have only 14 women that came on a direct ticket. Women. The rest of the members of parliament
people don't trust women
that are not standing on affirmative action. Amen. That is why affirmative action is important, because that would then mean we would only have 14 members of parliament who are women if we didn't have affirmative action. So, going back to the youth, a leader must lead and must have ability. We are not saying that all youth, because of these cuffs in terms of money, will be eliminated. We have very many youth that are very productive, that are very wealthy, by the way. They have worked, they have not inherited. We have those that have been inherited, those that come from rich families. We have those as well. So it's a mix. And I think for me, this is a call for the youth even to work harder. That if you have a dream to be a member of parliament and know you need 3 million, commit yourself. Like you commit yourself and say, I must build a house. Commit yourself to ensure that you get the money. Because our politics has, the way we've tailor-made or tailored or molded, you know, a potter, if you want to make, molded our politics, it has become money must. You're not going to say, I'm a young man, I'm just out of university, therefore, I saw that during Kawempe election, some young man who came, I don't know if it was a joker or he was real, when he was asked by the Electoral Commission for 3 million. He said, I'm just from university. How do you expect me to have this money?
Okay, Robert, so, I get that part, and I would like to go to Julie here. Robert does mention that you need to work hard and have the money, at least the nomination fees. And I agree with him on that, because every place has a... nothing is for free in this world. But when we talk about the rising cost of politics, it's not just about the nomination fees. It is everything else that he mentioned, where even you mentioned that in some spaces you'll find that the contestant has to give people money. So, Julie, from your perspective, do you think that we are making it hard for people that do not have too much to be a part of the political space in the country? And if we are, if the answer is yes, please share in your perspective what the future of Ugandan politics would look like, and what kind of leaders are we going to get? Are we getting people to serve us, or are we getting people that are recalling what they have invested before they become leaders?
Well, ideally, from the past elections, we've seen the fact that we've seen money speak the language and dominate with its language. It speaks into the type or the culture of the leaders that we have. Many of them are not even able to present ideas. Many of them are not even able to speak for the people, because at the end of the day, they sorted it early on during the campaigns. They gave you your money and that's it. When they get to the positions of power, they are benefiting themselves. So ideally, in my perspective, if the goal is to filter unserious candidates by these different parties, money shouldn't be at the forefront. Yes, money is needed. Money runs everything, but it shouldn't make the statement. I mean, have vetting processes like academic credentials. If you're active at grassroots politics, for youths who have been active, you're active in just village chairperson, woman, let there be evidence that you've been active, you know, grassroots endorsements, but also the experience of it. You can start building your experience along the way as you climb the ladder, and those are the vetting processes that will prove your ability. But money shouldn't be at the forefront.
Well, thank you so much, Julie and Robert. And I agree with you, both your views to a degree. Yes, so there is a lot for us to do, but also as the voters, we choose these people. We put them in the positions where they go. So it's important for us to choose carefully the leaders that should represent us, especially in Parliament. Someone made a joke that a member of Parliament with a senior six level of education is earning more than a surgeon, a brain surgeon. Wow. Anyway, thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. We will be taking a short break, and when we come back, we'll have Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Gone are the days when weather prediction used to be unlike today. It woke up raining cats and dogs, but you will be surprised that it will be shining in a few, and that is just the beauty about Uganda. Well, good morning on the GMU Tourism Express. My name is Zakia Lucky. Thank you for sticking around. I was excited to be a part of the launch of the International Museum Day yesterday that happened at the Media Center. And the Honorable State Minister mentioned that you should come and be a part of this, because it's not just about celebrating cultures and the museums, but it's going to have a lot of exciting things to do, especially under Explore Chugezi. And he talked about the beautiful women that come from that side where I actually come from. He talked about you coming to see what the culture is like. And he mentioned that it actually has the best scenic views. When you get to Uganda, it has the best climate, just what I'm talking about. But today what we bring to you is about religious tourism, especially the economic impact. And with me today is Mr. Lazarus Okrut, who is the Programs Officer and the Interreligious Tourism Center. We're excited to have you this morning.
Pleasure, Lucky.
How is the weather for you?
In Uganda, or globally, rain is a blessing from God. So being part of Interreligious Council of Uganda, yeah, we received the blessing in the morning.
Talking about the blessing, I remember when I visited Karamoja and it rained. They give names usually. When you visit those places and it rains, you get a name. Oh. Yes. Please give us a brief background about religious tourism.
Religious tourism in Uganda is a rich product. That's what I can say. One, it's also spread all over the country, and it carries a big potential that we are looking at harnessing and developing. Yeah.
We've been running religious tourism segments. Previously, we went to Gaddafi Mosque, which was dedicated to the Muslims, and we also went to Namugongo, which during the Lent period. How is religious tourism different from other tourism segments?
Religious tourism is uniquely distinct in its own way, because one, it's a voluntary form of tourism that someone goes without being convinced. Two, it's unpaid. You went to Namugongo, we did not charge you. Thirdly, it's repetitive. That the current statistics that Ministry of Tourism released has 65% of people repeatedly return to Namugongo, more so for Mother's Day celebrations. Yeah.
And talking about religious tourism, what are those sites that are visited most in Uganda and how they contribute economically and locally to Uganda?
Apparently the most visited sites in Uganda as far as religious tourism is concerned are those within the metropolitan area. Okay. We talk about the Namugongo 3 sites. We are talking about the Anglican shrine, a site the Anglicans don't like calling it a shrine. They call it Namugongo Anglican site. The Namugongo Catholic shrine, the Namugongo Martyrs Mosque. We have Munyonyo, Maina Basilica. We have Gaddafi Mosque. We have Bahai, and so very many others, but within the metropolitan area. Yeah.
I remember when I visited Namugongo, most people actually know it for the Uganda Martyrs, but I was surprised that there was a lake. I was surprised to get to know more things. You'll find even the bone of the late that still exists. But I don't know why don't they like calling it a shrine? Because I mean that's been our culture.
Well, for the Catholics they call it a shrine, but for the Anglicans, because I think they have a different meaning, so they prefer calling it a site. Well, economically, religious tourism, all these sites have impacted within these areas in a very mega way. One, around Namugongo, mostly during Mother's Day, most residents prefer giving their houses as homestays. Okay. Two, it's business unusual during those celebrations. You see Gaddafi Mosque now has shops selling different products around, and services. Talk about restaurants springing up, so it's really working for the good of those around.
You talked about accommodation, and I remember when I actually come through, I was wondering how it's managed within that area. You know, we have very big numbers coming in for the Mother's Day, and I kept wondering how much these people are benefiting. That place is way busy. Yeah, it is of great impact that is being done. Now, talking about the infrastructure and investment which is currently in place to support religious tourism, what are the gaps that still exist?
The gaps that exist, I think we are focusing on one area as well. We need to do, because religious tourism is literally spreads across the country.
Okay.
Every region at least has a site. We talk of Eastern, there is Bishop Hannington site. We talk of Northern, there is Wipolo Matters in Agago. We have Bethel in Nebi. We have Archbishop Luum in Muchuni, Kitugum. If we go to Western, we have Adolf Ludigo. So all this need to be harnessed. And I think Inter-Religious Council of Uganda is doing a very good job together with UTB, because we did an audit of religious tourism in 2023, and we're able to establish that we have over 100 religious tourism sites as a country. So I think if we did developed all those, it means we are good to go as a country, economic-wise.
That is good feedback. When you get to visit most of these places, they have history attached to it. Some of which it's sad, and the other is just the other way around. But how can religious tourism be marketed without attaching sadness to it and, you know, being promoted in the country?
The sad bit of it all, I think, it's what makes the story more beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're talking about heritage here. Apparently, I think government has, through Uganda Tourism Board, has been doing it in isolation. But and in isolation, they have been frustrated, or less impacts have been achieved. So through partnership with Inter-Religious Council of Uganda, who better understand their member organizations, who in return also understand how which message should be heard by those who subscribe to their faith. So I think there should be a bond, there should be a coordination, there should be a work relationship, collaboration, so that the marketing efforts reach the targeted population and the impacts are achieved. Yeah.
Do you think there's a balance between spiritual preservation and commercialization in Uganda's tourism?
Yes. Yes, because before the faith communities were scared that the spiritual aspect could be eroded in favor of commercialization of religious tourism or pilgrimages. But the Inter-Religious Council of Uganda thought deep and said, no, we need a steering committee for this tourism thing, so that this committee with the representatives from all faith institutions, which is actually led by the Secretary General of Uganda Episcopal Conference, Monsignor Kauta, to ensure that there is a balance. The other one does not overweigh the other one. So I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you know, it's one of those sectors that have actually least been promoted.
Yeah.
When you get to religious tourism, there are lots of questions, people wondering what is this about, until you actually explain to them and it gets interesting. But I'm wondering what roles the government playing in regards to promoting religious tourism?
I think the biggest role government is playing, and we are glad, is one, it acknowledged religious tourism in all development plans, development plan 3, development plan 4, and all development frameworks. So I think including that in the policies and all the development plans in its plans makes it a little bit also impactful. Secondly, government has been investing in promoting these religious events. Talk of Bishop Hannington every August. Talk about Archbishop Janan Luum every February. Talk about Namugongo. The government is a sole sponsor of all these events. So I think it's really doing. Also, government is putting in a rich infrastructure. As we talk, if you go through Namugongo, the roadworks are still on. They are putting up lights everywhere. So I think government is doing a commendable job. And appreciations go to Ministry of Tourism, whatever antiquities.
Ministry of Tourism is actually doing a lot when you see the number of activities that are coming up, just like the International Museum Day, which I think religious tourism also falls within. Yeah, that is of great impact. So what is the untapped potential that you think religious tourism in Uganda is still lacking, that needs to be unlocked?
I think we have already we have a little bit pushed in front a bit, but I think religious tourism in Uganda literally has not been tapped fully.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have events, and of all those events, for example, if you're out there, Uganda is known as the land of the martyrs.
Okay.
Yeah, land of the martyrs. But how many people do we get from how many international pilgrims do we get? I think last year, as per the report, we received about 1,200, about 1,300 international pilgrims, which is literally not economic, impactful in other words. So literally we can harness these religious events, one, attract big crowds at these sites. For example, we have the second biggest mosque in Africa, and I think a lot has to be done. A lot has to be done.
You talked about being untapped, but you mentioned, of course, the roles that the government is playing. So where could the gap be? Is it the people that are not taking up spaces?
One, I think on the side of the faith institutions, Inter-Religious Council of Uganda is doing a very big role right now, because first they were hesitant to come on board to promote this, and right now they are coming on board. So that's why we see the few changes coming up. Before we never used to have big numbers like 1,000 even from overseas coming for Mother's Day and other events. But the mere fact that we have started, and this year, moving forward, we are looking at having at least 500,000 international pilgrims, and arrangements are all in place.
Okay.
National Organizing Committee meetings are happening already, early. So we look forward to bigger changes.
Okay, entice that Ugandan that is watching you right now to come and, embrace religious tourism.
Uganda has 98% of its population subscribing to at least a particular religion. So I think that alone convinces you to explore your faith and get to understand what heritage, how much of real faith do you understand, how much of your religion do you know. If you go to Namirembe, did you know that Namirembe has a museum?
For me, I know.
But the biggest number of the Anglicans don't.
They don't know.
Same thing with the Catholics. They don't know much. How did the lake structure come about? The altar, the lake, who designed it? They have no idea about it. So I think let's know what concerns us or what matters to us. Yeah.
Yes, that was religious tourism. Get to explore your faith. There's just a number of them. If you're a Muslim, if you are still, doing it how we used to do it back then, still explore your faith in that way. Remember, the Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo is also still counting down, and we are just 34 days left. And stick with us. We deliver tourism news. Stick with us, and we're still on Good Morning Uganda.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Buza Kamisona, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear Chitenge at 10,000. And when we are selling Chitenge, we sell it at 17. So we don't know whether we are working or not.
Understanding your tax obligations can help you grow your business and avoid unnecessary losses. Now, you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887, and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning. Welcome back from GMU Tourism Express. My name is Julie Nantabamusisi and it's time for GMU Business. And starting with matters U.S. tariffs on Uganda and its impact while the clock is ticking on a 30-day reprieve before the 10% U.S. tariff on Ugandan imports takes effect. Government is fast-tracking a series of interventions to shield its exporters and protect hard-won market share from the U.S. Now, the Presidential Advisory Committee on Exports and Industrial Development, PASAID, chaired by Odrek Rabogo, is in charge and also pushing for transformation. Uganda's export engine has been running at full throttle, but with the U.S. set to impose a 10% duty on incoming goods, that momentum is now under pressure. Still, the response has been sharp and strategic. The Presidential Advisory Committee on Exports and Industrial Development, PASAID, has opened direct lines with both U.S. trade officials and key Ugandan agencies to keep negotiations active. Markets in the UAE, India, China, and across Africa are being identified as promising alternatives. Now, PASAID is also driving value addition, ensuring Ugandan products are processed, branded, and certified to meet international standards. Beyond physical products, Uganda is also investing in market intelligence. Exporters are supported with data on shifting U.S. consumer trends, freight cost projections, and pricing benchmarks, allowing them to pivot in real time. Now, let's look at matters investing in Uganda, and a Chinese investor, the manufacturer of sherry cars and a range of products, is in Uganda to seek for investment opportunities. Now, the Prime Minister of Uganda, Robin Anabanja, has met the Chinese investors in Uganda, assuring them of government support to set up an assembling plant for cars and buses. The Cherry Holdings Group, a Chinese company, are the manufacturers of cherry cars. The company is worth 70 billion US dollars, more than Uganda's GDP of about 50 billion US dollars. The Vice President and Board Secretary of Cherry Holdings Group, Xu Wei, is in Uganda to seek for investment opportunities, including setting up an assembling plant for sherry cars. The group met the Prime Minister of Uganda, Robin Anabanja, and the company is seeking to set foot in Uganda to assemble electric cars, buses, cable railway, agricultural machinery like tractors, electric car chargers, solar panels, flying cars, motorcycles, robots, and among other range of products. Now, the Prime Minister promised that the Chinese investors that Uganda is ready to provide them with incentives to facilitate their stay in Uganda, and she commended Chinese government for supporting African countries in order to get out of poverty. She also encouraged investors to work towards adding value to agricultural products and minerals in Uganda. Now, let's look at the forex rates as of 15th April 2025. The dollar was buying at 3,662.68 opening and selling at 3,672.68, and by midday it was at 3,663.00 and selling at 3,673.00, closing in at 3,661.27, selling at 3,671.27. Now yesterday saw the dollar drop a bit of value from its previous rate, but looking at the British pound, it was at 4,836.53, seeing it gain its value and selling at 4,849.74. The euro dropped value and was buying at 4,157.73 and selling at 4,169.09. The Kenyan shilling dropped there as well, buying at 28.23 and selling at 28.31. The Tanzanian shilling was at 1.36, which had a drop as well, and selling at 1.36. And the South African rand was buying at 194.42, gained its value there as well, and selling at 194.95. Well, that wraps it for JMU Business today, but Good Morning Uganda is up next. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life. Buza Commissioner, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear chitenge at 10,000. And when we are selling chitenge, we sell it at 17. So we don't know whether we are working or not.
Understanding your tax obligations can help you grow your business and avoid unnecessary losses. Now, you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887, and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso, every Wednesday live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
We're going to be talking about farming, but it's not me that's going to do that.
My name is Hava K. Luanga.
My name is Larry Charles K.
Let's go!
Mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock. This is the spice garden and for the vegetables.
My first favorite spice has to be black pepper.
What's black pepper in Uganda?
Kamulali or mudagavu.
What? We're going to talk about the sechunga. We're going to see how big it is, as big as Larry's head. And then we're going to talk about the mangada. So we're going to get there. We have still so many farms to visit. And I would like to hear from you. This is the Little Farmer Show, and we are bringing coolness back to farming. See you!
Ghetto structure okusooka ffe twali twepima nga ghetto structure tenabeerawo bali batugoba nga bintu si byakubeera nga tusobola okumiitinga mu mwali temusobola na kutumiitinga batulaga bagenda tulondesa obukulembeze ne batulaga nti tulina okweteekateeka ne batulaga nti mu bayamba mulina okubeera ne sako. Era essaawa zino eno n'akasente tukayina mwe kali mu ofiisi tukakozesa ba beneficiaries abantu ab'omu ghetto wansi. Tuyanziza nnyo His Excellency the President of Uganda, Brigadier General Damulira, Major Emma Kuteesa, House Controller, anti-ghetto, tumuyita anti-ghetto. Structure kati mulimu nze nagufuula mulimu office eno ghetto structure mulimu kati gwenkola sikyalina kyenkola kyonna. Bannaye ba ghetto youth mwenna bakubiriza ghetto structure yazze n'emikono ebiri ebeere ng'etuyambako oba ng'etujjayo yonna gye tuli ng'etusupportinga mu buli kimu. Veeyo akasente mwe kali mu office ak'okwekulaakulanya mutukire office ensonga zammwe zonna zigenda kukolebwako.
Kansooka okwebaza omukulembeze w'eggwanga okututeekateeka. Twali tetunnaba kuteekebwateekebwa, twafuna okusoomoozebwa nga kungi nnyo. Omuli okutukwata abasirikale, olumu nga tetulina na kitukoze. Kale nga n'akasente k'oba osonzeewo ggwe nga ggwe akagenda okukuyambako mu bizibu byo, nga weekanga okawadde abasirikale. Naye okuva ffe ghetto structure we yayimirirawo, ebintu bingi byakyuka. Abaana baffe tebakyabakwata nnyo okuggyako abo abamenyi b'amateeka. Ne be bakutte nga babakwatidde mu ghetto nga ekikwekweto kibadde kiyise. Nabo tulina omukisa ogugenda okubajjayo. Abasirikale batuwulira. Abasirikale batuwulira. Toyinza kugenda ku poliisi n'ogamba DPC nti bakutte omwana wange nga akumanyi nti oli komanda. N'atateekayo nnyo maanyi kukola ki? Kumujjayo. Ne neebaza bakama baffe, Jeno Damulira, Afande Kuteesa, nange tweyanziza nnyo mukoze ky'amaanyi, bo bakoze ky'amaanyi nnyo tuteekateeka. Kuba bwe twamala okuyingira ghetto structure ne batuteekerawo n'essako. Ne certificate twazifuna. Kati batteekerawo essako eyo. Era muzeeyi n'amala n'atuukiriza kye yatugamba n'atuteekeramu ssente. Era kati eno essaawa gye tuliko tuwola abaana, tuwola ba ghetto youth, ababadde balina bizinesi zaabwe naye nga zibulamu ebyokkola. Tugenda tubawa okutwaliza wamu katuli bulungi, tetuli bubi nnyo, era twebaliza ddala President Museveni okutukolera ekintu ekyo kuba mu butuufu twali.
It is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najoma. Thank you for being a part of this program. Now we delve into our agenda segment where we speak to opinion leaders and policy makers regarding different issues. Every Wednesday here on Good Morning Uganda, we do engage the cooperatives or those that are in the cooperative sector and to see how the sector is doing, but also the different aspects as as that is concerned. Now, today we will be delving into a conversation regarding fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. And I will be speaking to CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Now, cooperative unions have played a pivotal role in Uganda's socio-economic development over a century. Uganda's cooperative movement dates back to the 1910s and was formalized with the passing of the Cooperative Societies Ordinance in 1946. By the 1960s, cooperatives had become critical drivers in cotton, coffee, and dairy sectors. Still, the liberalization of policies of the 1990s disrupted this growth. But we have seen a lot of regrowth in the sector, and Ivan is always excitedly sharing with us what has been happening over the years, especially now in the 2000s, 2010s, and now in the 2020s. So in recent years, there has been a renewed push to revitalize the cooperative sector, and according to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Uganda currently has over 20,000 registered cooperative cooperative societies serving more than 10 million members. Now, the Uganda Cooperative Alliance plays a central role in policy advocacy, training, and also coordination, which brings us to our conversation today, fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. Good morning, Mr. Asimwe.
Good morning, good morning. How are you? And good morning all our viewers outside there.
I'm really happy to be here.
Okay. Now, looking at the numbers, Mr. Asimwe, we have over 20,000 active cooperative organizations in the country, and 40% of these are said to be SACCOs, which are savings and credit cooperative organizations. Now, jumping into some of the key issues that many Ugandans would be interested in. First of all, let's set the stage. Let's try to understand today's topic, fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. What does this exactly mean?
Oh, very good. In fact, you have already summarized my presentation. Thank you so much. And as usual, I want to begin by appreciating UBC, the board and management, for always giving us this opportunity as cooperators. Yeah, because previously we didn't have this opportunity, but we get this opportunity to learn, understand, get information, because it is a principle of cooperatives, which is about education, training, and information. So you are really helping us to actualize this principle.
Yes.
So we are so grateful. Like you have made my presentation very clear, there was such a time when the cooperatives were very strong in this country. And we are talking about the cooperative unions. And we started by looking at the Cooperative Ordinance of 1946. Because in this country, cooperatives began way back in 1913. When, because of too much exploitation of our farmers, especially, 4 farmers led a revolution and said enough is enough. We cannot continue like this. I can't grow my coffee and I become a slave. The other produce you a slave. You take your produce to the market, you meet a buyer there who is a middleman, the man cheats you openly. So because of that, they said no, enough is enough. We must liberate ourselves through cooperatives. And they formed the first cooperative society. 1946, the ordinance comes into play. Then but still that ordinance was unfavorable. It was a bad law, because it had been made by the colonials and they didn't want Africans to cooperate. Because they knew once you cooperate, then exploitation will stop. So, but these guys kept on pushing. And these are people, the viewers, I want you to listen to this. These are not graduates. They don't have diplomas, no degrees, no masters, no PhDs.
These are peasants.
These are peasants. But they saw light earlier in 1913 and they said no. So 1946, the ordinance is made, but this is a bad law. So the cooperators kept on pushing until 1952, when Andrew Cohen came here as a governor. They petitioned the government and said, enough is enough. We want to cooperate, but the law of 1946 is a bad one. So Andrew Cohen sets up a committee of inquiry that released the report on the 11th of June 1952. And that one is the one that liberated the cooperative movement. And then that's where we see the cooperative unions coming up and registering. Because for the case of viewers, when we talk of a cooperative union, this is where primary societies come together and form another level or another layer of secondary nature. Like for example, we the farmers in a certain area, when we come together, what we form is a primary cooperative society. For example, we are cattle keepers. In one area we form and like that. So when now you bring these primary societies together, they form a union of secondary nature. Then again, when the unions, those secondary unions, even mix with the primary societies coming together, they form a union of tertiary nature. Take an example. When the circles come together, they form a union called Ukusku, Uganda Cooperative Savings and Credit Union. That's a union. They even form other unions. Kigezi Circles Union, it is there. Ntungamo Circles Union. Shema, like that. Bunyoro Toro, those are unions. So when all these unions come together, they now form an apex body, which is Uganda Cooperative Alliance. So that is the structure. So when we are talking about unions, we are not talking about these small structures. We are talking about huge structures. Talk about Banyankole Kweterana. That is a union. in Western Uganda, in Ankole region. Kigezi Growers Cooperative Union, Bugis Cooperative Union, Sebei Eregon Cooperative Union, Wamara Growers, East Acholi, West Acholi, West Nile, Nyakatonzi. These are bigger unions we are talking about. Ukusku, Uganda Cooperative Transport Union. These are huge unions that we are talking about. So I'm very happy today that we are discussing a very pertinent topic. Because, moderator, as a country we have just launched NDP4. And NDP4, if you are to critically understand the goal, we are looking at higher household incomes, we are looking at employment, and then we are looking at full monetization of the economy. So in this context, therefore, where do we put the local content, the Ugandans? So where do you put them? Because you are talking about full monetization, you are talking about higher incomes and then employment. And the unions do all this together. Then again, you go down to the theme where you're emphasizing industrialization. I'll give you an example. Last week I was in northern Uganda, in Acholi sub-region. I want to tell you, unions are giants. I wish the government could really refocus on the cooperative unions in this country. We went to one union, for example, West Acholi Cooperative Union. It has got over 7,000 acres of land in Nyoya. They have a cotton ginnery where the forefathers bought that ginnery in 1960s. 1960s. I don't know which language they were using. I don't know how they were negotiating, importing that ginnery. I don't know. So, but these people had the capacity to buy such a bigger ginnery, cotton ginnery. They have a maize mill. They have a rice mill. They have structures. My God. So when you are talking about investors, this one should be priority number one. You go to Middle North, which covers the entire Acholi sub-region. This is a giant with a lot of land. You go to East Acholi, they also have a ginnery, a very big ginnery of cotton. Then you go to Nyakatonzi Nikasese, they also have a ginnery, very big one, modern. Now, if you are talking about industrialization, and how do you bring Ugandans, especially the smallholder farmers, already the structures are there, the facilities are there. I don't know why Ugandans, we cannot wake up. We should wake up and take advantage of what we have. But you imagine you find someone evaluating themselves based on how many investors they have gotten from outside of the country. Why would you leave Uganda to go and look for investors outside the country when you have investors here? So it's a matter of consolidating our wealth, looking at what we have, take advantage of it, and move the country forward, because we have everything. I think God was fair enough. God gave this country what it takes. Because you have mentioned it rightly, in 1960s, unions were very strong. I tell you, moderator,
and I would like
very strong.
Yes, Mr. Simwe. And when you mentioned that, I would like for you to actually walk us back a bit to the 1990s. What were some of the challenges that arose during the 1990s liberalization era, and how did they affect cooperatives in the country?
Okay, like I've mentioned, immediately when the committee of inquiry gave a report to Andrew Cohen and the government, immediately they had to revise the law of 1946. And then we have the 1952 Cooperative Societies Act. The other one was an ordinance. Now it becomes an act. Then we see cooperatives grow very fast, tremendously.
Yes.
And we have these unions register. The Banyankole, the Bugisu, name them, all of them. Now, by 1960s, I want to tell you, 1963, government realizes that there was need for cooperative education and established a cooperative college at Bukarasa, which later went to Chigumba in 1974. Cooperatives were very strong, and they started a cooperative bank in 1964, using their own money. I want you to look at how big it was. Then they owned by before independence. Cooperatives are controlling coffee. They had 1% monopoly to gin cotton. They were controlling coffee, 90% and 60% Robusta and Arabic. Cooperative, their net worth just in crop alone, it was 321,311,500 Uganda shillings. This was a lot of money as a country. So these are giants. So eventually around in fact in 1970, government comes up with a new law, the Cooperative Societies Act, because from 52 there was another one of 1963. Because the laws have been revised over time. Some of them are repealed, others are amended. So 1963, after 52, then from 63, we have the one of 1970. 1970 law brings problems. How? Cooperatives are based on 7 international cooperative principles, and among them is autonomy and independence. So the moment you make a law that affects the autonomy and independence of cooperatives, automatically you have killed them. So that law killed that principle of autonomy to the extent that even a minister had powers to appoint the boards and secretary managers, which is against the second principle of cooperatives, democratic member control. So automatically it affected them. Now, as we move along, 1979 we have a war. Most of the cooperative unions, because they were very strong, they were giants. They had the machinery, they had land, they had the stock. Some of it was intercepted along the way, cotton and coffee, and they lost a lot of wealth. So, as they are now coming up with the coming of NRA in 1986, 1990s economic liberalization, they now open up the market. You can imagine you have been having a patient in ICU. As the patient is recovering, you now say, stand up and run. The patient can't run. Needs time to settle. So, before these unions are stabilized, liberalization, they are now exposed to competition.
Free market economy.
Remember before, they were using the warehousing receipt system, whereby if you're a coffee farmer, you'd bring your coffee, and then they would weigh, and they give you a receipt, and the receipt was a cash equivalent. So now when they open up to competition, the multinationals come in. They have cash. You get me? Now, as they are still struggling, even their bank is closed, 1999, 19th of May. You see now a double tragedy.
Yes.
The bank is done. You don't have a bank. You went through war. You lost your vehicles.
And now you have stiff competition.
You lost your coffee. You lost your cotton in transit. Now, as you are trying to recover, liberalization. Multinationals come in, take over the business.
Stiff competition.
So, your hands are tied. But we are appreciative of the government.
Okay.
Since then, the government has come up with a revival strategy. And that's why we are here talking. And when you go back to these unions, most of them have recovered. Because government compensated some of these unions, and they are still compensating them. We have emphasized capacity building, which we are doing today. You see, we have come up with new, because previously we are looking at these cooperatives in coffee, cotton, but now we have gone beyond cotton and coffee, and we have cooperatives in transport, we have circles, we have energy, we have, name them,
services.
So we have diversified in general. Previously, cooperatives were seen to be institutions for the poor and the illiterate.
Yes.
But now even professionals, they have cooperatives.
That's right.
You go to accountants, you go to lawyers, the army, the police, the prisoners, they are now there. So this is where we are.
Okay. Well, if you're just joining the conversation, today we are speaking matters cooperatives, and the topic of discussion is fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. And I am speaking to CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary of the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Now, if you have any questions for Mr. Asimwe here, please reach us on WhatsApp number 0709 602 592. You can weigh in, you can share some of your views, and also probably what you have gathered over the years regarding cooperatives, and maybe what should be done to make them even better. Now, Mr. Simwe, let's come back to the present, and here I would like for us to look at sustainability and resilience. What role do cooperative unions play in promoting sustainable development, especially in rural areas?
Now, like I mentioned, you just go to one of the unions. I will just take you to Ankole Coffee, Producers Cooperative Union. This is a union for the coffee farmers. Me and you coffee farmers, number one, we get extension services from the union through our primary societies. Now, number two, we have the capacity to aggregate our coffee. Because the biggest challenge we have in this country are the middlemen. You can imagine someone buys your coffee. I don't know, do you grow coffee?
Personally?
Maybe around here in the studio.
No, so personally I don't,
so
but
you
my
don't
family.
Know what we are going to
no, my family does.
And I'm always lamenting.
Okay.
Can you imagine? Why should I grow my coffee in Rukunjiri and I'm paid 10,000 shillings
per kilo
as a farmer per kilo? My coffee goes to Europe.
Yes.
Europeans process it into Nescafe. It comes back to a supermarket,
and you're buying,
and the kilogram is around 200,000.
That's true.
So who is making money?
Of course, the person that is selling the end product.
Why did I go to school, primary, secondary, HSC, university, masters? Why ACCA? And I am still exploited as if I didn't go to school. We should be asking ourselves these questions. We the educated people. Why did we go to school?
So how, the questions now are there, and I like that you're asking the questions. Yes. But now how are you, for instance, as UCA, promoting sustainable development to that farmer you said, who is growing their coffee, but are earning 10,000 shillings per kilogram?
So that is why we are here talking about the cooperative model. Because like I've mentioned, it is the cooperative model that is going to help this, my mother, your father, like that. Down there in the rural areas, they will be able to increase their production and productivity. This one is an objective in NDP4. Okay. Increasing production, productivity, aggregation, value addition and marketing, which again is the first pillar in PDM. So it means there is a connection between PDM and the National Development Plan. And for that matter, even as UCA, that's what we are promoting. How? Support these farmers through cooperatives for them to be able to produce together, aggregate together, add value, and then export. Now, instead of exporting as Ivan Asimwe exporting raw coffee, we now have the capacity to process our coffee so that we get money here. The money remains in the economy. Do you know that in Europe, people are making a lot of money in the coffee, yet they don't grow coffee?
That's right.
Yes. You go to Germany. The other day I was listening to the president when he mentioned that Germany makes more money in coffee than Africa combined.
And yet
they don't grow coffee.
And yet Ethiopia is the biggest exporter in Africa. Yes. Uganda coming second.
Yes.
So where is our money? Who has our money?
Our money? Now, as educated people, you educated, I'm educated.
Yes.
The viewers are educated. They are seeing us. Have we ever sat as Ugandans to ask ourselves such a question?
So
why do you go to school? You don't go to school to speak English.
And that
you go to
for
school to get knowledge and skills so that you are able to make money and come out of the poverty cycle.
All right.
Yes.
Now that begs for the next question, Mr. Simwe. What is hindering us from value addition to the products that we make, that we grow here? Because these are the raw materials. We grow coffee, we grow vanilla, we grow cotton, and many others. But we are selling the raw materials, and like you rightly put it, when we sell, we don't get as much money as the person who is selling the end product. So let's talk about value addition. How are cooperatives helping the farmers in terms of value addition?
Now, before I even go to that, the question is, why are we not doing it?
Why?
Number one, we are not organized.
Okay.
We are not organized. And that is why the middlemen take advantage. But previously, like I've mentioned, cooperative unions were controlling Arabic and Robusta coffee to the extent of 90% and 60%. They had 1% monopoly to gin cotton. So had we moved at that pace, now would be beyond ginning. Would be now making cloth, the real cloth out of cotton. Do you know that we grow cotton here?
Yes, we do. For a long time, we had two cash crops. We had coffee and cotton.
If we are to make a study in this country, how many people put on cotton cloth? And yet we grow cotton.
Are the clothes even made
I
here?
see my friend from Mukasese. He's not putting on cotton. And yet they grow cotton. So we grow cotton for others, then we put on mivumba from Owino. Are you seeing the confusion?
Which brings us back to value addition.
Yes.
If we are growing cotton, why aren't we adding value to the cash crops?
Like I've mentioned,
we are not
when
organized.
you go to West Acholi Cooperative Union, they have a general which is there.
Is it working?
It is not working. Why? Because cooperative unions need strengthening. Because they went through a lot of struggling. Now where they are, they have their machines. Here is NDP 4, which is emphasizing industrialization.
Mr. Simwe,
so support farmers, support the cooperatives unions to be able to add value. Support the farmers. They produce together. They aggregate together. They have already structures. These unions have stores. So they are able to aggregate together, they add value. Instead of exporting raw cotton, you now move to the next level. Beyond the ginning, they start the weaving, and finally we have cloth here, so that we export a finished product and make money. But now when you go outside, you have heard some people who are here praising themselves. We have gotten investors, Why would you go to look for investors when the investors are here?
Mr. Simwe, yes, cooperatives went through a trying period in the 90s because of the economic liberalization. It's been 40 years of this government. 40 years of peace, 40 years of growth in different sectors. Why is it that we are still talking about cooperatives being disorganized? Okay, maybe farmers or people from different sectors being disorganized. And why are we still talking about issues like we need them to be supported more? Are you saying that in the last 40 years, there hasn't been substantial support for people like farmers to organize themselves and add value to the products that they grow, to the crops that they grow?
Thank you so much. You know, I began by appreciating government. Government has done its part. They have really supported. Even when you go to PDM, they are supporting the PDM circles. And the first pillar for PDM is production, productivity, value addition, aggregation, and marketing. But a lot needs to be done. I'm not saying they have not done. No, they have done something. But a lot needs to be done.
Okay.
What should be done? Number one, government needs to invest a lot in education, training, and information. Moderator, people don't have information. That's why we are so grateful with UBC that we have this opportunity to sensitize people down there. Some people are not even up to date. They are not even aware that they are cooperative unions that have such facilities. And especially the educated, these capitalists, for them they believe in multinationals. They think cooperatives can't work, but they are there and they can work. That is number one. Invest a lot in training, information, and education. Number two, ensure that there is a good law for cooperatives. Yes, we have the Cooperative Societies Act, CAP 107, but with gaps. Even in these circles, I think last time I was here and we discussed about the legal lacuna on circles, currently what is affecting circles. For the interest of viewers, in 2003, Bank of Uganda came up with a law. They amended the MDI Act to allow supervision of bigger circles whose threshold is 500 million share capital and 1.5 billion voluntary savings. All of them are supposed to be regulated by the central bank. Then also in 2016, government enacted the law, Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act, that require circles to be regulated under UMRA, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. In 2020, the Cooperative Societies Act is amended, giving birth to CAP 107 and requires circles to come back to the registry. Now, ideally that means there are 3 laws and 3 regulators for circles, which now creates a confusion. Unlike in Kenya, which has a single law and a single regulator for circles, which is SASRA. So what we have been saying, bring all these circles together under one law, under one room, so that they are regulated properly. So that is what the government should be doing to remove that contradiction, so that we have a good law for the cooperatives. Another thing, moderator, tax policy. You know, these cooperatives, these are for farmers, smallholder farmers. If the tax authority would sit with these people and look at their nature of business, a cooperative is not a company. But you find URA taxing cooperatives as if they are companies. You get me? Because a cooperative is member-owned, member-used, member-controlled, and benefiting members. Unlike a company that generates revenue outside its membership from the general public, a cooperative like a SACCO generates revenue within its own membership. That's now the difference. So for tax purposes, we need to learn how is the business of a cooperative compared to a company, so that there is a tax policy, the tax regime specifically for cooperatives. Another thing, we need to invest a lot, in fact, to revise the education curriculum, such that right from childhood, people learn and understand cooperatives. Do you know we have people who have formed the elite, they have formed the cooperatives, but they cannot define a cooperative. We have people working in the cooperatives, managers and staff. Go and ask them, what's a cooperative? I don't know.
So what are they doing? What are they doing there?
That is now a question. So this is why we are saying, support this. Another thing, you support these unions. Like I've mentioned, they have a lot of properties. My God, we did just a simple stock taking. You go to West Acholi, you go to East Acholi, you go to Banyankole, you go to Nyakatonzi. They have a lot of land, they have properties. But what is lacking? Some of them are lacking capital to do business. So what do you do? Create patient capital. Because now it is very hard for these unions to get capital for them to operate from these commercial banks. Number one, commercial banks will not accept, because they see as if these cooperative unions will not pay back
their liabilities.
So they are risky. But now if government was to create such capital and say, let this capital be created so that the money can revive these unions, so that these gineries, these mills, this land, everything can be used, then you see cooperatives very far. Another thing,
Mr. Simwe,
invest a lot in audit and supervision to ensure compliance.
Okay.
Because some of the challenges we are getting in these cooperative unions are governance related. So the moment you strengthen audit and supervision, and then the leaders know their roles and they are doing it perfectly, the management does its role, the members do their role, I tell you, this country can easily transform. Even the NDP4 we are talking about, it can be realized within the next 3 years. because there is a lot of potential. But this is why we are saying these are sleeping giants. So government, we kindly request you, come in, let's work together and revive these unions. They have a lot of potential.
All right. Join the conversation on fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. I am speaking to CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary for the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Any questions whatsoever, the number is 0709-602-592. Now, Mr. Asimwe, let's talk about success stories and innovations. Please share with us some inspiring successes from cooperative unions in Uganda, particularly those that have impacted livelihoods and communities.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. There are lots of success stories. Let me begin with the circles. And you know, circles, like I mentioned, where they have come together and formed unions, Ukusku and the other unions. Success stories number one, there is now access to financial services deep in the rural areas. I don't know whether you're a member of a circle, but with my experience, I worked in a circle for 9 years. So with my experience, people downstream there, they have now the capacity to save the little money. Go to rural areas there. The old man, the old woman now can go to a circle and save his money. They can access loans for school fees, for production, for emergency, a lot. You go to the young people, the youth. Circles are providing products for the young people. Like when I was a general manager, we innovated a product for border, just border. By talking to the young people who were riding other people's borders and they were paying 10,000 per day. So we said, no, why would you become a slave of the owner of a motorcycle? Because every day you are reporting 10,000 shillings, in a month that is 300,000, in a year that is almost 3.6 million, and by then a motorcycle Bajaj was at 2.5 million. So it means every year a young poor man was buying a motorcycle for the other. He becomes poorer, the other one becomes richer. That is capitalism. So we said, no, come together, form your groups in a circle. For us as young people, we shall give you motorcycles. Do you know that within 4 months, these guys paid off? They make a lot of money. They paid off and they own these motorcycles. Then from there, we went to school fees. We had a product for school fees where you are now, these people are able to send their children to school. That is on circles. You come to agriculture. Look at the unions. I've given you an example of Ankole Coffee Producers Cooperative Union. Currently, they are exporting over 200 containers of coffee to Europe. However, it's unprocessed. So the next step now, and that's why we are appreciative of government strategy, because you see NDP4 is looking at industrialization. Our president is focusing on how best can we process our coffee here. So if all this coffee now through the unions, like Ankole Coffee, like Rwenzori, like Chibinge, like Bugisu, Sebei, Eregon, and Okoro, if they brought all this coffee together at a soluble plant, the coffee soluble plant, and we are able to get powder and export this, do you know Uganda can change very fast? Because we have the opportunity. So that is a success story. Already, coffee is going outside through the union. Now the beauty with exporting through a union is that there is what they call premium payment. I don't know whether moderator you have heard about this. Now what happens, like Ankole Coffee an example, or Chibinge, they are exporting coffee through fair trade. Now the policy of fair trade is that when you are exporting through them and you are a coffee cooperative society or any other enterprise, they give you the first payment, which now you pay to the farmers, farm gate price. Then when they sell and make a profit, they even come back and pay. That is called the second payment. Then at the end of every year, fair trade compiles all the coffee that you have traded through them and they pay you money, which is called premium payment. And that premium payment is paid directly to the farmers. So a farmer gets first payment, second payment, and premium payment. Like last year, 2024, in Ankole Coffee, they paid farmers premium over 1 billion. All this money going down to the farmers during Christmas, and you find everybody is happy. Now, capitalism. If now it was Ivan exporting this coffee directly, the money would be coming to Ivan as an individual. But if it is going through the union, now the farmers have the capacity to share this money, and then you transform the economy. That is now on agriculture party. You come to housing. We have Uganda Housing Cooperative Union. Now they have relocated, they have constructed their offices, new offices. So how does this work? They support me and you to access affordable and appropriate housing. You know that there is a very big housing deficit in this country. So take an example of market vendors in Kalerwe. These are women selling tomatoes, selling onions. They came together because individually they cannot buy a plot and construct. So what they did, they came through their housing cooperative, and then together they started saving. After they bought land, big land like 2 acres, and then plotted. Yes, 2 acres. And then they plotted, they divided amongst themselves plots, they constructed. Now they are staying in their houses. Wow. Are you seeing the cooperative model?
Those are beautiful success
Very beautiful
stories.
You go to health. Same doctors have come together. They have formed a health cooperative and they have established a hospital. Do you know in the next 10 years to come, we'll have first-class hospital owned by Ugandans who are doctors?
Yeah, and speaking of housing, I actually personally do know of an old boys circle from King's College that owns a beautiful, beautiful housing within the environs of Kololo.
Yes.
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 Wow, the conversation is rich.
So
Join
the
us.
elite, I want to tell you the elite.
Yes.
Please, please, it is the cooperative model that is going to help us. We are accountants. I remember one time, accountants, yes. We had our CPD here at Hotel Africana. And what do? We agreed that we need to form a circle, because I asked them a question. Accountants, we are not poor people, and we are land. So what do we need? Why do we put our money in commercial banks when we don't have a stake? And yet we call ourselves finance experts. So we sat together, formed the circle. Do you know now we have a very big circle of accountants?
Interesting.
Talk about the army. The army now has Wazalendo,
yes.
The largest circle in the country, yes. In trillions of money. So everything is possible. The elite, if you are doctors, form a cooperative, have a first-class hospital. If you are engineers, form a cooperative, primaries, form a union, and you have a union of engineers constructing roads and bridges. That is how you develop a country.
Getting tenders, yes. Instead of these tenders
instead
and
of now getting
contracts going to foreigners.
Instead of getting foreigners to come here and construct, you would rather have Ugandans, but who are organized. And that is a challenge I told you. Many of our people are not organized. Number two, we have the capitalist mentality. We did our economics and commerce, which did not tell us about cooperatives. But this is the right time for us to understand the model, because it is the cooperative model that has developed Europe, America, and Asia Pacific. And yes, we can as a country.
Yes, we can as a country. I remember a leader whose slogan was, yes, we can. So we can do it. The conversation is rich. Join us if you have any views on the number that is displayed on your screen, 0709-602-592. I am speaking to CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance. And today we are looking at fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. Now, Mr. Asimwe, I have a question coming in from Trinity, and she's asking, how can such cooperative initiatives be extended even to those ends of Karamoja?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. One time I went to Karamoja. In fact, I asked the same question. You know, these people have a lot of cows, eh?
And land.
And land.
Yes.
So what is missing? Information, training, and education. So my friend who has asked the question, the only solution is to go back to the communities of Karamoja, sensitize the people on the need and role of cooperatives. When we had, during the time I was in Karamoja, we were in Moroto and the other parts of Karamoja. So we had time with these farmers. And the question was, how do you survive? Who buys your cows? Where do you take your milk? And they rightly told us, people come with lorries here, they take our cows very cheaply. They come and take our milk very cheaply. So what is the solution? Organize them, sensitize them, let them form a beef cooperative union so that instead of selling it to these middlemen who are exploiting them, they would rather directly go to the market.
So are there initiatives by the Uganda Cooperative Alliance to organize these
the initiatives are there. In fact, we have been there before and we are even going back. We shall go there and mobilize these people. But of course, UCA is limited by funding. We do not have a bigger budget. We just got support, some support from government of recent, and we really want to appreciate the government that we are even able to do what we can because of a subvention that we got. And we call upon the government, let us together, let's work together. It is the cooperative model that is going to lead us to where we want to be under NDP4 and globally through SDGs. We can actually realize whatever we want to do using the cooperative model. Capitalism has been tested. Yes, it is good, but not for our economy.
Okay.
Why? Because we have multinationals that we don't own. So we need to have our own that can make money for Ugandans.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I have another view from Ogwang David Cosmos, who is the commercial officer at Abim District. He says, good morning, Uganda. I want to thank CPA Ivan for the continuous sensitization of the public through TV, and thank UBC for hosting such educative ideas.
Thank you.
And he says, my main concern is that Uganda Cooperative Alliance should interest itself in knowing the next financial year, how much had government put in place to support the sustainability of all these circles in the country. Through monitoring, supervision and backstopping, these circles, including the parish development model, Emioga and other primary circles in the country. And this is from Ogwang David Cosmos, who is the commercial officer for Abim District. And the next view comes in from Julius Odeke, who is a trainer and consultant in business trainings and consultancy. He says the biggest challenges faced by cooperatives all over Uganda, especially circles, are, and he mentions one, fraud, especially by the internal stakeholders. We can work together in capacity building, trainings, among others. Now, this issue of fraud, Mr. Simwe, has been raised pretty much every time we have a conversation here, and the argument is that the fraud is basically being done by the stakeholders. The committee leaders apparently conspire to commit a fraud. But before you answer that, the last comment comes in from Biarhanga, and he says, greetings, my name is Biarhanga Chinyabwiru. Thanks for the program. Now my question is this UCA, isn't UCA now contradicting parish development model? Because we got cash from PDM and joined force of unity to grow up our village ventures. Those are two questions.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Ogwang, because literally has appreciated UBC and UCA for this move.
And then again, talked about the fraud.
Yes, no, the fraud I think was Biarhanga.
Biarhanga is asking about contradiction between PDM and UCA.
Yes.
Okay.
So, on the fraud, this is why when I was beginning, I emphasized the need for audit and supervision is very critical. Even within the Cooperative Societies Act, it is embedded there that we need to invest in audit and supervision of these cooperatives. Secondly, we need capacity building. Some of these frauds are happening because members are not empowered. They don't know. They elect their leaders and leaders take advantage of their ignorance. The management staff are taking advantage of the boards because the boards need training. So in other words, to avert that, we need capacity building. Number 2, we need to strengthen audit and supervision. Number 3, we need to capacitate the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives so that it has the capacity to exercise her mandate as a ministry. Yeah, because it has a lot. Currently, we have over 46,000 registered cooperatives serving over 18 million Ugandans. This is a very big portfolio. So we need to really support the Ministry of Trade with a bigger budget to be able to do her work so that these cooperatives, they are properly trained, they are prepared to deliver the services. Mr. Byaruhanga talked about the PDM.
Yes.
Yes, he talked about the PDM. There is no contradiction here. What we are saying, we thank government for these initiatives and especially adopting the cooperative model. Emyoga, PDM. But what we need now is to sit together and look at some of the challenges and see how best we can solve them. Because UCA as an apex body has got a mandate of capacity building. So we can work together with the government and we thank government because for government to adopt a model, it is an opportunity to us as cooperators. So there is no contradiction, but rather let us see how best UCA and other cooperatives can support PDM and Emyoga and then streamline them within the main cooperative movement. That is the way to go. If they are PDM circles, support them to form unions for proper production, aggregation, value addition, and marketing.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Asimwe. We have learned a lot today, just like we do every Wednesday. Now, coming up, we will be broadcasting live a message by the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Most Reverend Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, and he will be delivering his Easter message to the faithful. So keep it locked on UBC to partake of the message from the Most Reverend. And Mr. Asimwe, I thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Through.
I want to thank UBC and I want to thank the viewers. Thank you.
Okay. And dear viewer, I would also like to thank you for being a part of Good Morning Uganda every single day. Now stick around for the message from the Archbishop, the Most Reverend Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, and I hope that as you listen and watch, you may be blessed. I wish you a happy Easter period. But for us here at Good Morning Uganda, we'll still be here to serve you every single morning, even through the Easter holiday. Stick around and enjoy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby dondolo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
We're going to be talking about farming, but it's not me that's going to do that.
My name is Hava K. Luanga.
My name is Larry Charles K.
Let's go!
Mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock. This is the spice garden and for the vegetables.
My first favorite spice has to be black pepper.
What's black pepper in Uganda?
Kamulali or mudagavu.
What? We're going to talk about the sechunga. We're going to see how big it is, as big as Larry's head. And then we're going to talk about the mangada. So we're going to get there. We have still so many farms to visit, and I would like to hear from you. This is the Little Farmer Show, and we are bringing coolness back to farming. See you!
Buza Kamiso now, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear chitenge at 10,000. And when we are selling chitenge, we sell it at 17. So we don't know whether we are working or not.
Understanding your tax obligations can help you grow your business and avoid unnecessary losses. Now, you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887 and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to you every Monday and Wednesday.
Imagine a place where healthcare meets compassion.
Others come in and they have families, but families have fallen apart.
Where every patient is treated with dignity and care.
We have just talked about one aspect of it.
Welcome to Mulago National Referral Hospital, the heart of Uganda's healthcare system.
The moment you discharge these patients home without giving them oxygen means you've really written a death sentence.
Takes almost 50% of the cases we are handling are road traffic accident.
We are encouraging the young ones out there to come and work.
From pediatric care to advanced organ transplants, Mulago's dedicated team is always ready to help.
And in Mulago, since we're a referral, we get the most complex of them because we just don't remove cancer, we remove even everywhere it wanted to spread so that the patient can survive.
Watch Inside Mulago every Tuesday at
okay.